Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. Good afternoon or good morning. Hope you're doing well. It's great to see so many of you already here. I'm really excited for today's YouTube Live because we have important things to talk about, particularly on funding, EIDL updates for so many of you who've been following this for 2 years. Important EIDL updates. There's deadlines this Friday and in 2 weeks. So I'll recap that. We've got Kayla and David from our team joining us today. And I'm going to talk about other SBA funding options that you should know about. We're going to cover one in depth today, up to $50,000 loans, talk through that, how to apply, who's eligible, who should think about this. So going to talk about those funding options and a quick news update in a minute, and certainly would love to answer all your questions today. It's great to see so many of you, and as always, drop in comments. I think the comments are open, so anyone watching today can leave comments, but of course, please subscribe if you're just tuning in, and like this video so other small business owners, entrepreneurs can watch our video. And one of the things I want to mention off the bat is in the last YouTube Live, I think 2 weeks ago, we picked two $5,000 winners. Later today, I'm going to post on our social media, so be sure you're following us there, one of the testimonials from someone, one of the $5,000 winners. So really incredible. That was a special for April, picking two $5,000 winners. We're picking more grant winners in 2 weeks' times. 2 weeks from today, we're picking $1,000 grant winners, probably 5 or 6, could be more. And that link, many of you already tuned in, are already entered. You know about our grants. We've been doing this for 2 years. But helloskip.com/1K. Again, it's our YouTube revenue here. We donate back to you in the form of grants as a thank you for everyone who has been supporting us, and you're out there hustling, trying to grow your own businesses. So as always, drop in questions. We're going to probably be on for about 25 minutes today. I'm going to bring in Kayla and David here. Many of you recognize. Hey, Kayla. Hey, David. How are you guys?
Doing well, thank you.
Great to see you guys. So we're going to have a Q&A format, and with Kayla and David, talk about a lot of their expertise. First on EIDL. I know some of you have questions on EIDL, so we'll answer some of those. Then we're going to talk about the new EIDL programs, the other SBA programs that have lots of funding that will help you grow your business. But first, I want to bring up the news here, which is why I have the Wall Street Journal up. The Fed and Jerome Powell are meeting today to talk about raising interest rates. This is a huge deal. They raised interest rates, I think it was 2 months ago. And actually, the stock market improved because people wanted that certainty. People, even though interest rates went up, investors wanted some certainty, and they see inflation as a major problem. But this meeting's happening today, and it basically means that every interest rates are going to go up for mortgages, for loans, for other things. So I don't know, Kayla, David, what do you guys think? What's your take on this? The Fed meeting today, interest rates increasing.
Well, it's already started. I was looking at mortgages. A few months back they were 3 point something percent. Now they're 5% and up. So it's definitely starting. I guess they're doing it to curb the inflation that's going on right now. So who knows? Hopefully it'll work and there won't be too much inflation, and hopefully the interest rates don't go up either, or not too much, because everyone likes taking out credit and using it when the rates are low, like with the EIDL and the other stuff that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another. Okay, did you want to add something there?
No, not really. I think Dave just kind of covered it for us, but it's unfortunate. But I think also I like to think of the positive of like the SBA programs that we've talked about before when it comes to lending and borrowing, especially for businesses, etc. About having that stability through the SBA on interest rates, where you don't have to worry about the fluctuation that's happening outside of it. But still, I think even if it's still going to kind of affect everyone. But pretty much David covered everything that I was going to say anyways.
Absolutely. Okay. So there's more to talk about that. I think it's another reason why some of these SBA programs, when I look back over the past 2 years, I mean, we, as a SCIP team, we've helped tens of thousands of businesses get EIDL funding. So we're going to give an update there. But SBA programs have low interest rates. So whether you're looking for 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, or $1 million plus, there's a whole range. And I know many of you watching who've been huge supporters for us. By the way, drop in where you're watching from. I love seeing where you're all watching from. I'm in New York right now. Kayla's in Florida. David's in New Jersey. Our team's across the country. So drop in where you're watching from. It's another reason to take these programs seriously. So before we talk about microloans, how to qualify, these are up to $50,000, some other grants to think about. I want to talk about the COVID EIDL loans because there's two important things I talked about in videos last week. Here's the latest numbers. Nearly 4 million businesses have been helped. Okay, but this Friday, May 6th, today's May 4th. May the 4th be with you. May 6th is when the SBA says they will not accept any more reconsiderations, right? Is this Kayla or David? What should people know if they're trying to get EIDL funding still Wednesday, May 4th?
David's like, I'm not saying nothing. It's tricky right now. I mean, a lot of people, what we're seeing are people are saying like they're stuck, that it's in there, that they haven't really heard from a loan officer, etc. And until they tell you either one, you're denied, or the funds have completely run out, keep trying. I know David and I have both had clients where they never even talk to a loan officer. They send in all their information, they get approved, and they get a letter in their email that says, hey, you're approved and here's your funding. So don't count it out. Just kind of keep going, but we're down to the wire. But if I'm being 100% honest, if you send in a reconsideration on the 6th, the likelihood of that happening, it'll be up to the SBA and how much money they have left. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I would, if you're not currently processing in one way or the other, I would submit like yesterday, today, ASAP. The main point is right now, as far as we know, there's still money. So submit right now. And this is a time to get it done. So if you're hesitating, you have any questions on it, do it. Even if you submitted something incorrectly, submit it. You have to have something processing before Friday. And the earlier you do it, the higher your chances are of getting some type of response, whether it's positive or negative.
Absolutely. By the way, shout out to everyone watching from Texas, Louisiana, New York, Montana, Michigan, Maryland. Anyway, I think we got most of the country represented. South Carolina, Jersey as well, Illinois. Man, that's great to see so many folks. And if you asked a question, by the way, we're trying to keep an eye on the thread, but if you asked a question and we missed it, ask it again. Okay, so on the EIDL note, like with any funding, any ways to help your business, if you go to the link at the top here, helloskip.com/join, we've been booked last few weeks. There's been a few VIP spots. We'd love to talk to you, not only for EIDL funding, other SBA funding, just helping you grow your business in general. That's what we love doing. And so I want to talk about the other SBA programs, the title of this live, specifically microloans. And I'll pull up again, this blog post we put up here. And I think David or Kayla may be able to talk about this in a minute, but just to share a few things, $50,000, up to $50,000 loans. So this is perfect if you are, let's say, a smaller business, a newer business, your credit score isn't perfect, right? If $50,000 loan would be meaningful to help you grow your business. This is a great program for two reasons. One, interest rates are low, not as low as EIDL, I believe. I think 6 to 9%. It's still lower
Correct.
than most private loans. But the second reason is this is kind of like a twofer program where to show eligibility, there's a couple different ways, but one is you have to show that you've been denied a loan elsewhere. We have lending partners where you can apply to. Some they don't even ding your credit score or credit report. You can apply, and if you get denied, you can use that to apply for a microloan. And we left some of the partners in the video description here. So yeah, anything either of you want to add to microloans here?
Yeah, I personally love microloans just because, one, you have a better chance of qualifying for a loan in general when you go for a microloan. So the small business microloans, they were created essentially for businesses who struggle to find sources of funding that you were talking about previously, Ryder. So if you've been denied for a small business loan by traditional lenders or an online bank, you have a better chance of getting approved for an SBA microloan. And also a great plus of it is the loan terms. So often a lot of these loan terms that you see out there, even through banks, are going to be just a few months to repay them. Anywhere from 12 to 24 is usually about the average. But the SBA microloans, they have longer terms, and they can go as long as 6 years for making monthly payments. And that's just to make it more affordable. And then, of course, like you said, the interest rates, they're sky high interest rates right now and fees for business loans. So the SBA microloan interest rate, I believe it was last year, was 6.5%. That was the average. When you look at an average for like a traditional bank, if someone without a lot of good credit, not a lot of business history, et cetera, goes in and they're looking to pay anywhere between 20 and 100% or even more. So the interest rate is very key, especially with what you talked about, rising interest rates. Everyone that I've walked through the process says that everyone is extremely friendly. The approval process is fairly short, sweet, to the point. You're not as likely to get that, I'm just a number. So that's an amazingly good plus thing for them too.
What are that's really helpful. And what are some of the steps, like some of the initial steps? We're getting a lot of great questions on who makes a good candidate. Let's say rideshare drivers. Do you need a business plan? What stage someone's at, like the revenue requirement?
Of course. So you have to either be a startup, newly established, growing. You have to be for profit, of course. You can't be an ineligible industry. So if you are a rideshare driver, you've been in business for a year, or you've been in the process of starting your business, you've tried to look for credit elsewhere, et cetera, and you haven't, you would be eligible for that. And it's going to depend on that intermediary. So it's a little bit different than EIDL. But you do have to have a business plan, which again is something that we offer. So you have to have a business plan, you have to have your financials, they're going to look at your character, etc. But again, completely different from the EIDL, because you're actually going to be talking to the intermediary. You're going to be talking to that loan officer, and they're actually going to take who you are, what your business is, and what your vision is into consideration. And so, yes, you absolutely have to go through an SBA approved intermediary lender. We have a list of those. We also help with the business plan, which you'll have to have. You'll have to have a profit and loss statement if your business is already established, something we also help with. You'll have to have projections, which we help with. So every part of the process, we have it narrowed down. Essentially, you need these documents. This is how long it's going to take. And then we help you get all that paperwork together. So.
And tax documents are required. Just on the screen.
Yeah, these are great questions. In terms of what you need to get set up or what you would need to apply, I would say, Kayla or David, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of you watching are familiar with the COVID EIDL dashboard, which, by the way, they're shutting down in 2 weeks. Let me loop back to that in a minute. But most of you have seen that simplicity. You put in your revenue, cost of goods, your information. Like, it's a pretty streamlined form. Microloans isn't quite as streamlined. I guess will it depend on every lender?
Yes, it's going to depend. Yeah. Right. So it's just going to depend on the intermediary that you go through. They have that final say, right? So the difference with the EIDL and the other SBA programs is the EIDL, the funds are coming directly from the SBA. You have to deal with their loan officers, their customer service, etc. Right? With a microloan or a 7A or a 504, something like that, you're dealing with an SBA approved lender, an intermediary, a nonprofit organization. Either one of those to make that decision. The SBA has given them, especially the microloan program, the ability to make those decisions on the behalf of the SBA. Again, why it's so much a little more streamlined than the EIDL, and a lot more user friendly.
Absolutely. So there's a couple questions on how long this process will take, but we have, internally here, we have, in-depth information because we help people with this on a daily basis. I just want to pull out a few facts in mind. So microloans, $50,000. The average microloan is $13,000. So, right, if you're thinking if this is relevant for you or not, or if you're looking for larger amounts, we'll talk about that later. The term length, I'm looking at our document here, up to 6 years. Okay, so it's not like the EIDL 30 years, 3.75%. This microloan up to 50K, 6 years. So that's great because a lot of, let's say, private lenders have much shorter terms. And there are origination fees when you take out $50,000. So there's a lot of other information on how to get that, but I just want to talk about the usage here. You can use for working capital, your team, yourself, inventory or supplies, furniture or fixtures, machinery or equipment. Am I getting all that right?
Absolutely. You got it perfect. That's everything.
All right. For everyone who's panicking about EIDL, let's talk about this because we addressed at the top of the hour. But and then Lynn's, I'll answer your question about the credit score. Someone can. So yes, you can apply, but do it today because the last day is this Friday to apply. So if you need help with that, just let us know. Just get in touch with us. We have a couple spots tomorrow and Friday. How about credit score for the microloan, 50,000 microloan? That's a big factor.
It definitely is a bigger factor. They are going to look at your credit score, right? So anybody that lends you money will. The difference is they're going to take your history and your credit history into consideration, like why your credit is low, etc. So that of course is a positive. But then they're mostly going to base it off of a 100-point system. And we can dive into that another time, or give us a call, make an appointment. We'd be happy to walk you through that process of what's going to weigh more heavily with an intermediary lender and what's not going to. While it is a part of it, it is not going to be the deciding factor.
Absolutely. And perhaps we can share a little bit more on the process. There's a couple questions on how long it takes, but also there are a good amount of forms. David, I don't know if you have up the kind of the list of requirements. We can briefly touch on that. But I'm looking at any other questions here from.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of forms. It can vary depending on what lender you're going through, but there's 4 different forms: a 1081, 1711, 1623, 160. Some of these won't be required for every business type, and like was mentioned, depending on what lender you go through, they'll have their own requirements. So pay stubs, tax returns, if you have collateral, a lot of times they're going to ask for collateral, business plan, projections, contracts, purchase agreements if you're using it to like buy equipment, and balance sheets, lease, business license, current assets. And it'll vary. Some businesses won't have a lot of these things, so it won't be a requirement for the businesses. So definitely have to
Exactly.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, and like this gentleman said, he said regarding the microloan, he hasn't earned a profit on a company that he started 2 years ago. So would he be considered a startup? Could he still apply? Absolutely, you can still apply. You would be considered a startup, but you'll definitely want to get those documents that we talked about together, and we can definitely walk you through that. But you are going to need some type of, even if you gave a quote for your business on how much it would cost to retain you, then that is something that can be positive toward you. And plus, they're also going to look at what kind of history do you have. So you may not have earned a profit yet, but you might have a great business history. You might have owned a different business. You might have been a director for a business or a consultant. Again, completely different than the EIDL, because they are taking those things into consideration when you're applying for a loan. So don't try to focus on just, well, my credit's horrible. Okay, well, we can get past that, or the lender can try to help you get past that, and we can try and prep you for that. And we have help with getting your credit up. So don't try to focus on all the, I don't have this or don't have this. We'll help you get to that point to where you can have it, and then what you need to do about it.
Absolutely. Here's a good question from Troy. When you apply on the portal, and I'm not sure if you guys know what portal is referring to, but what's a good reason to input?
Just be truthful. Why are you applying for it? Do you need, are you trying to start a business? Are you looking for equipment? Are you looking for working capital? Are you looking to purchase inventory because you have contracts or a quote or something like that? And you have the money to come in and you have a contract, you just don't have the funds to purchase the inventory to actually do what you need to do. You can use that, the microloan for that. So whatever the reason is, just be 100% honest about it, because they're going to question you on it. They're going to want to know why, what your plan is, how do you know that's how much it costs, etc. So these are all things we have to take into consideration.
Yeah, Jay's chiming in here. Yeah, and I'm not sure how many of you actually, when you interacted with loan officers, let's say for EIDL, a lot of them, depending on who you got, would ask you, "Hey, what do you need this for?" Especially if they're trying to do a narrative with you regarding ad backs. Why did you have these? Why are you trying to get these ad backs for a increased EIDL loan amount? I want to share one, factoid here, just to put the EIDL program in perspective with the microloan perspective, right? The history of the EIDL COVID EIDL went live 2 years ago. The original limit was $150,000. Then in April of last year, the new administrator, Guzman, increased it to $500,000. Then in September, she increased it to $2 million. For most of you watching, right, above 500K was off the table, even though we've helped thousands of folks get, 500K, million, the full 2 million. The average EIDL loan amount was not that large, in the somewhere around 50,000. I'd have to double check, but the point is that for many of you watching who are solopreneurs, one-person businesses, this is equivalent. This is the microloan. It might be equivalent to what you received or would have received if you weren't successful with EIDL. And some good questions coming here. Carmen asks, we are Skip. We're the Skip team. We're not the SBA, in case that wasn't clear. On that note, though, the SBA, because we're in touch with the SBA quite a bit to find out how much funding is left for various programs, policy things they're working on. They are replenishing some of these programs. Microloans, which is the focus today, 7A, 504, we're going to talk about next time. This is going to be a multiple part series. So another reason to, if you're new or joining us for the first time, to subscribe to us here, and then like it so other businesses see this, because we're going to do a few of these. So let's any other pressing questions, or David, anything you wanted to add at the moment?
Well, someone asked about what reason they should use. Working capital is usually safe, for most loans. We're using it for working capital. Like the EIDL, for example, for expansion, they won't allow it for expansion. Working capital is used just a safe choice. And usually the reason why companies want a loan, working cap, even though they might need it for something else, but a lot of stuff falls under that working capital category.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, it's National Small Business Week. We didn't talk about that. Speaking of what the SBA is doing, they're doing a lot of putting out a lot of resources. We're trying to do webinars weekly, not only when it's Small Business Week, but yeah, I don't know if we could run a poll to see how many of you, I love running polls. We run these on YouTube a lot, but how many of you are still looking for additional funding? One quick point here is if you're on, let me see if I can pull it up here. Might not be able to. If we go here, you can see on your, if you have a Skip account, you either as a free user or as a member, a lot of the posts that we talk about are accessible here under small business posts or funding help. A lot of you commenting, you've scheduled times to talk with us. You can schedule times to talk with us from the dashboard as well after booking. But one of the points I wanted to make was on May 16th, the SBA says that they are basically deprecating or sunsetting their EIDL portal. The EIDL portal, which many of you have focused on quite a bit over the past 2 years, that has your loan amount, your documents, 4506T. They're going to phase that out. That was a big surprise. I talked about, I didn't expect them to just cut it off, because for many of you, that's like the main source of information. If you want to store documents on Skip, let's say your loan documents, those loan closing documents, at the very least, you should download them and have them on your computer somewhere secure. You can also securely add them on Skip here. A lot of the terms in the loan documents you may need to reference in the future. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, so chime in on questions here about anything else on microloans that we didn't cover that we want people to know.
Nothing on microloans. I did see a question about EIDL, but we can address it in a little bit if you want to.
Yeah. Well, we may only go a few more minutes, but there's a whole we have a whole list of how to apply for microloans. Not going through it in super detail this call. For our members, we're doing a detailed call on Friday to talk about this, like the SBA forms, the pay stubs, collateral, business plan, cash flow projections, some of the things David already mentioned, and how they're scored. Some of you might be TMI, but if you're looking for 50,000 microloan and you're denied elsewhere, it's a good option. Okay, let's EIDL questions. We can answer some EIDL questions.
I don't know, David, if you saw it, someone was asked earlier, and I wanted to clarify, is that if they have been approved or they're in a reconsideration right now, are they guaranteed funding? And I want to be very clear. I saw a whole bunch of answers in there, kind of contradictory, but I want to make sure people know that unless you have signed loan documents, you are not guaranteed funding. If they come back and say, yep, you're approved, and then you find out 10 minutes later the funding is gone and you have not signed those loan documents, you are not guaranteed for that funding. So just want to make sure that's very clear. I saw a couple of people that said yes, but no, you are not guaranteed until you sign those documents.
Something else that you can find out if money's been set aside for you. If you go on the CA website, it'll say if it's undispersed, it'll say it right in there. So if you don't see anything in there, then it's highly likely the money hasn't been allocated to you.
That's
Yep,
the CA
exactly.
web where you can also see outstanding interest and things like that, right? Basically your balance. Yeah, that's a good one.
caweb.sba.gov.
Yeah, or you can go to EIDLpay.com, which is right. That's our shortcut domain.
That one's even better. And
yeah, EIDLpay.com. We made it a bit more user friendly. And for microloans or for in-depth on how exactly to apply for microloans, what you need to do, we'll try to put out as many resources as possible in the coming weeks. And you can always go to the link above and choose the VIP option to try risk-free. We're trying to help as many small businesses as possible. And especially now with the Fed announcement today, rising interest rates, another reason to go after capital, be opportunistic, especially if you have growth goals for yourself or your business. You're thinking about what some extra capital can do to help you grow. And this is amazing. So many great questions today. We have a few links to some of the private lenders if you want to say, oh, let me try to apply, and if I get denied, I can do the microloan, in the description here. And yeah, there's did we answer the approximate timeline to be approved for microloan? Approximately how long, Kayla?
We did not. So the process is that so the loan closing has to take place within 120 days of the date of the loan approval. So that's the maximum they can take is 120 days. Usually it's about a month or two. But if you go through an SBA approved intermediary, that process is a lot faster. But to be fair, they do have up to 120 days to close it.
Got it. Yeah, so there you go. If you can wait, right, the options in front of you are we're picking $1,000 grant winners in 2 weeks. So I always say this, have multiple baskets with multiple eggs, and make sure you're diversified a little bit, especially with the EIDL. Some of you have been just kind of waiting for news for years, but some of you, the folks we've talked to, have also gone after private funding and been approved as another route. Or some of you have won some of our grants too. We're posting later today, like I mentioned at the top, some of one of our $5,000 grant winners on our social media. So would love to connect with you there. We're doing a lot more, not only on our Instagram, but we've got some TikTok videos. We've got more coming there, and LinkedIn. And Twitter and Facebook as well too. But so great to see so many of you. And as always, I can't wait to do our next live. And say hello anytime. And any final thoughts, Kayla or David?
get everything submitted now.
Yeah, don't
Yes.
wait. Submit. Yeah, send an email, get it in. Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, so you can be one of these numbers here. If you want to be one of the statistics for EIDL here, these 4 million businesses, you can see the state numbers, what state you're in. But yeah, great to see so many of you. Thanks for all the amazing comments. Thanks, Kayla and David, for joining. And stay tuned for more EIDL alternatives next week, 7A, 504, and surprise option as well. We'll see you all soon. Thanks again.